A very warm welcome, everybody, to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium for the fourth race of the season, only round 4 of the European Le Mans Series, when it feels like we all should be quite a bit further into this campaign. Why, with only 2 venues, are there 3 races to go? Well, earlier on in the season in May, we were due to go to Imola. That race could not take place because of circuit upgrades taking place in Emilia-Romagna. So the replacement race, the slightly delayed race, will now be Friday at Portimão, with the finale on Sunday in the Algarve. But this is the 4th race of the year here at Spa, and in fact the race tomorrow. Qualifying before that, it's an 11:30 start for Sunday morning to mark your card. However, 4 doses of qualifying to take place before, because remember this year that the championship is effectively split into 4 different categories, 3 classes, 4 categories, and GTE will be the first of those. And we are savouring every single moment in the world of GTE. Graham Goodwin, by the way, my name's Johnny Palmer. Thank you for joining us, because we're really into the last few stages now of GTE competition. 1 more race in the World Endurance Championship at Bahrain, and these final 3 races in the ELMS.
It should be open.
It is really sad to say this is the last weekend we'll see GTE cars here at this astonishing track.
By the marshals may be investigated after the session.
Their instructions before they head out, and of course head out from the Grand Prix pit lane. Away they go. There will be 12 of these magnificent machines on track, and we'll call the drivers as they emerge. Proton Competitions number 16, Ryan Hardwick aboard the Sky Blue Porsche 911 RSR, the 44 GMB Motorsport car, the red Aston Martin with the Danish flag, Jens Reino Moller aboard that car. Another Dane, Johnny Larson, in the Formula Racing car, the 50 car that had such drama at Aragon last time around, the Burgundy Ferrari 488. The 57 Kessel Racing car, Takeshi Kimura in the car guide livery, bright yellow 57 car. 66's even brighter yellow JMW Motorsport car, Martin Berry, who was, I think, pole position last time out. 51 AF Corsa car, Kreiter Lentudis, the car with the Greek flag emblazoned on the front. Duncan Cameron, one of the most experienced bronze drivers in this field, in his 55, the British Racing Green Spirit of Race Ferrari, Duncan the 55 car. Iron Lynx, another bright yellow car. It is the 911 RSR Porsche of Iron Lynx for Claudio Schiavone. Arnold Raban had a terrible time in qualifying earlier this afternoon with a recalcitrant GT3 Aston Martin. He'll be hoping that the 72 GTE version with TF Sports behaves itself rather better. 2 Proton cars, the 77 car, Christian Reed, the most experienced GTE driver, driver in this field, in the 77. The 93 car for Proton Competition, the silver car in the hands of Hollywoods and the ELMS's Michael Fassbender. And finally, the number 95 Aston Martin for TF Sport, another red car, but without the Danish flag, and that's in the hands of the veteran John Hartshorn.
You're right that Martin Berry was pole sitter last time out at Aragon. He was also the pole position man in Barcelona at the start of the year, so clearly likes visits to Spain. In the middle of those 2 rounds was our visit to Castellet in the south of France, when Christian Reed took pole position. Christian sharing with, amongst others, Julian Andlauer, who had a cracking victory last weekend, also in Spain, at the Barcelona 24 Hours for IMSA Performance. But these are the opening few laps then for the GTE cars. All of them have made it safely out into the session. And at the head of the order, it's the 66 car for JMW Motorsport and Martin Berry, who crosses the line now, closely followed by the GMB Motorsport Aston Martin. You can only run a bronze in these sessions these days. So even though each of these cars also has a silver plus either a gold or a platinum rated driver with the FIA, it is reserved for bronze only, and that's a real good way of getting the bronzes with more responsibility, but also getting their times to tumble down, as you will find throughout the duration of this session.
It's a great way to do it. Confidence levels are sky high, satisfaction levels are sky high, for let's face it, the drivers that very often are funding most of this effort. It's tyres for Is it all three? It is all three of the Proton cars back in together after that single lap. They're just scrubbing off tyres ready for the race tomorrow. Michael Fassbender, his car will be released now. Ryan Harwick can see their car behind. But we're going to be into fast laps very quickly in what is a short, sharp 15-minute qualifying session. One for the GTE cars, one for the LMP3 cars, and then we have split sessions, don't we, for LMP2 Pro-Am and LMP2. So four 15-minute qualifying sessions to come this afternoon. Stay with us for all of that, for lots of news and gossip as well about what's going on in the world of endurance racing, and particularly here in the LMS this season and next season.
The other thing we should mention is how close it is in the championship, with only 3 races done. Of course, Alessio Picariello, Ryan Hardwick, Zachary Robuchon lead the championship with their number 16 Proton competition Porsche by only 2 points. Scott Huffaker and Takeshi Kimura are second in the points. That does not include their third driver that has rotated quite a bit. And in fact, we welcome Daniel Serra this weekend for his first ELMS action for the year and for a couple of seasons. I seem to think Serra's been racing elsewhere in the WEC and other places too.
He has indeed, and Daniel is one of those drivers. There are not many of them. That's the privilege of winning in this GTE class for 2 different factory teams at Le Mans. One for Aston Martin, won it as well for Ferrari, and a very accomplished driver indeed. Through comes Martin Berry for what will be the first offering in this qualifying session. It's a 2:26.601 for the JMW Motorsport car, and followed through by Jens Muller, who's 1.5 seconds back. So 2:26.6 is the first significant offering. What are we going to see here from Takeshi Kimura? And the answer is, I think he's lost his time.
Must have done.
He has. It's track limits.
Third sector.
Johnny Lawson, half a second off Martin Berry. So it's another good start to a qualifying session from the Australian.
So if the little amber dot appears on our timing screen with the letters TL inside, that means that the track has been observed, sorry, the car has been observed to be leaving the track, i.e. getting too many of its tyres the incorrect side of the white line, Goodyear tyres for GTE, and therefore the sector time's deleted, the whole lap time is deleted, and you start again from square one, and that's dicey to be messing about with that with only 15 minutes in the session. It is.
Krantalan Dudis comes through and goes second quickest with a big improvement in time. It's not second to Martin Berry, who, by the way, has just lost the lap he's on track limits. It's because Duncan Cameron has come through in a 2:24.148, 8.5 minutes to go. That's 7/10 quicker than the Greek driver behind, and 2.5 seconds quicker than Martin Berry's first offer. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4 for Ferrari at the moment before we get to Jens Muller in the first of the Aston Martin's 5th quickest. But there are some much quicker times coming. These lap times are going to be much closer to 2:20 than they are to 2:30 by the time we finish this session.
Balance of performance always carefully monitored from round to round, but there haven't been any crucial changes there. The only change has been within the success ballast, where we've got 3 rather heavy cars. The championship leaders, car 16, has an extra 25 kilos for company, also an extra 25 for Kessel Racing's 57, and an extra 20 kilos for the 77 Christian Ried Porsche. So that's 2 Porsches and a Ferrari that may struggle to get the absolute time that we would have seen earlier on in the year had all these cars run at base weight. Meanwhile, the JMW Motorsport Ferrari's back across the line.
So that's the time that's affected by track limits. Jens Muller, though, goes top, 2:18.436. That is a much quicker time. Almost 6 seconds quicker than Duncan Cameron, who is around that kind of pace. Johnny Lawson comes through. He's 2 seconds off that. Arnaud Raban, though, makes it at the moment an all Aston Martin front row. He's in a 2:18.082, 3.5 tenths up, and he takes provisional pole position, Johnny, with just 6.5 minutes remaining.
Still waiting for any time at all from Ryan Hardwick, Takeshi Kimura, Claudio Schiavone, Christian Ried and Michael Fassbender in Porsches and Ferraris. Kimura and Schiavone are, well, it's Kimura who's in the Ferrari. The other 4 names that I just mentioned are all Porsches and have yet to lay down a meaningful time because of track limits.
No, because they came in and changed tyres.
Sorry,
so
yes.
That was a squirrely moment at the end, beginning rather, this lap from Duncan Cameron. Lost the rear end of the car. Watch it here, off into the gravel with the rear left of the car. But I think he kept the car on track. Martin Berry, by the way, has now got his foot back in. And the 66 car's gone through with a purple sector. So the man that was top of the times is currently 9th and last of the cars that have set a time. Behind him, it is 2 of the 3 Proton cars that have not set a time so far. Michael Fassbender has now set a time and will continue to improve, I'm sure. Arnaud Raban and Martin Berry, who bookend this field at the moment, in terms of the times that are being set, both on improved times right now.
And here is Martin Berry, a driver from Singapore, heading out of Curve Paul Frere towards Blanchimont. This very fast left-hander straddling the white line, but that should be okay in the track limits book. Takeshi Kimura has definitely been pinged for track limits on one of his previous runs, but this lap so far is clean. Michael Fassbender, though, has just been done in the first sector for breaching the white line, so he's running it pretty close here. At least he does have a time to his name, a 2:22.8.
Third for Martin Berry after what was a clean lap. He's, what, 3/4 of a second off on a Raban, who I think may improve his time here. He is up on his times in both the first 2 sectors, only by just a few hundreds here and there, but they will add up to, what is it? It's a 2:18.0, becomes a 2:18.039. So he just shaves off some hundredths of a second. That's just going to make it tougher for everybody behind that little bit more. 4 tenths up now on Jens Moller. It is still an Aston Martin 1-2. It is Arnaud Raban from Jens Moller, TF Sport from GMB Motorsport, then JMW Motorsport and Formula Racing for a second row that is all Ferrari right now. Where are the Porsches?
I think this is good for Arnaud Raban to be wiping the memory banks clear of a disastrous Michelin Le Mans Cup qualifying session where the car actually couldn't leave the pit lane and the team were frantically working on it.
After a red flag.
Yes, so that it did initially come out and then there was a red flag, everyone returned to the pit lane. He was right at the front of the queue, but the car would not move. So the team had to work on it. It did eventually come out, but it was too late to get around for a quick time. And if Arnaud Raban can just get some confidence back by maybe taking pole in this session, and we could see a different Arnold for the Le Mans Cup race, which is still to come today. Well,
he was looking very good. He had a purple first sector, but that's just been called, as he's midway through the second sector, as track limits. So he's not going to improve on that lap. And the bad news for him is that both Ryan Hardwick and Martin Berry are both on course to better his current pole time. Here comes Ryan Hardwick. Can Porsche go from nowhere to the top of the tree? This looks like the lap most likely to do it. And where does he go? He goes to the top, and he goes to the top, Johnny, by 6.5 tenths of a second.
That's some statement from a car that's 25 kilos heavier than some of the other Porsches in this session. For instance, the 93 Michael Fassbender Porsche only has 5 kilos for company, so 20 kilos heavier, and Ryan Hardwick has hustled that car to the sharp end. Here's Martin Berry, who's in a very good position to get at least this lap, well, the next one and one more after that, should he choose to.
He goes third. So Martin Berry goes from 5th to 3rd in one leap. He splits the Aston Martins that from being 1st and 2nd are now 2nd and 4th. Who else wants some of this? Michael Fassbender on a much better lap this time around. Keeps it clean and tidy by the look of things at the moment through Sector 1. Needs to maintain that form through longer Sector 2. But Michael Fassbender, who for me, Johnny, his form has been coming on leaps and bounds. He has been a magnet, and no X-Men, pun intended, for other people's trouble in recent races. But this guy, his form, his consistency, his pace has come on in leaps and bounds this season and deserves much better results than he's been getting.
I agree. And they had a cracking podium last time out at Aragon. They were very, very happy with that. Shares the car with Martin Rump and Richard Leitz. And, well, we want to go at least one better here at Spa, ideally 2 steps on the podium better to take a first win in the series. Bumping over the curbs there, but that was just about the right amount of red and yellow curbing here at Spa to now head across the line. Fassbender fifth.
Good result there from him, 1.2 seconds off, but Hare's right up the order. We've got 1 minute and 28 seconds to go. For some of these cars, it will be the lap they're on and no more. But for Fassbender, for Reed, for Hardwick, there's going to be at least one more to come, and Hardwick's on one now. Doesn't look as if he's going to better his time. Looks to me as if Honor Raban at the moment is on a good lap. Johnny Larison as well looks set to improve. Still life in this old dog of a 15-minute session yet.
And Arnold Robin could yet go better than everybody else. On predicted times, he's 9 thousandths of a second quicker than Ryan Hardwick, but has to continue this pace all the way through the middle and final sectors. But it's been a personal best through the first sector for the man from Lassart. Ryan Hardwick and Arnold Robin separated by what looks like a big chunk of time, 0.6 seconds. 0.65 seconds, in fact. However,
the way these times have been coming with a clear lap and with discipline.
Arnold Robin, though, he's let himself down there with the middle sector. It's too slow. He's dropped about 1.3 seconds for that middle sector, depending on how the Aston gets its time, of course, in this final run to the line. And, well, 1 or 2 will get an extra lap out of the session, including the 57 car, and tucked in behind
Johnny
Larson, deep red or even burgundy Ferrari. They had a big crash in Aragon after clashing with the Inter-Europol competition LMP2 car.
Here comes Raban, and is he going to clear it? He will take the check. Did he take the checker flag? He didn't. He's got this lap. GMB Motorsports Jens Muller, though, is done. Will do no better than 4th. Who could do anything about this? Claudio Schiavone on a much improved lap. He's at the moment 12th out of 12, but is on a better lap, needs to keep it clean and tidy. This is Christian Reed, 9th at the moment. He won't be happy with that. It's a better lap for Christian. He's fabulous. 911 RSR Porsches. That might just have been grazing track limits. We'll wait and see what the eagle eyes of race control say about this. We will regret losing these 911 RSRs. They're amazing machines, these mid-engine Porsche 911s.
Yeah.
Proton Competition, by the way, still own every car they've raced in the 911 RSR era from 2017. That's 16 cars.
There can't be much more room in the workshop.
No.
Although, well, maybe he's having to rent a few storage units as well to drive those Porsches into.
It was track limits, and that was a better lap for him. It would have given him, what is that, 2 more places on the grid, but that's gone away. Here's Ryan Hardwick going to pit lane. He thinks it's done, and I think I agree with him.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody offering further improvement that's going to trouble Ryan Hardwick. You said championship leader coming in here?
He is.
And that will be another point on the scoreboard.
And bear in mind, I mean, there's a base weight. The Porsche runs 1269 kilos, which is quite a bit heavier than the Aston Martin. Then you add the extra 25 as well. I mean, that is a massive effort and a massive result for Ryan Hardwick. Testament to him getting more and more used to GTE machinery.
How many different pole sitters have we had this year in this? It does feel like this has been a topsy-turvy year.
Well, Martin Berry's had 2.
Right.
Barcelona and Aragon, so he's a Spanish specialist. The other pole sitter we had, Christian Reed. So we haven't yet had an Aston Martin on pole position. Okay. It's been the same Ferrari in the 66 JMW. 1 pole for the 77 Porsche, and now the 16 Porsche joins that little collection of cars.
So, yeah, very happy indeed with that. Proton Competition score another pole position and a point towards what could be a pretty extraordinary European Le Mans Series title for Ryan Hardwick, with Zach Robichon. And Claudio Schiavone, by the way, just edged at the end from 12th to 11th, so just leapfrogged this man, John Hartshorn. So Ryan Hardwick, Arnaud Raban, Martin Berry, Jens Muller. There is our pole man, he does that all the time. That's not for pictures, it's just his general demeanour.
Kneeling down next to the car, almost giving it a little kiss because it's worked hard across the session. Remember how badly Aragon went, because Ryan had that early spin that he ended up in the gravel trap during qualifying. So he's come back fighting. 2:17.385 for the American, and tops the times by 0.6 or 6.5 tenths, in fact, over Arnold Robin's TF Sport Aston Martin. Then Ferrari and Aston Martin second row. JMW Motorsports, Martin Berry, Jens Moller in the Aston Martin from GMB alongside. Proton Competitions, Michael Fassbender with a 5th place start alongside Duncan Cameron's Spirit of Race Ferrari. Then the Formula Racing Ferrari of Johnny Lawson. Takeshi Kimura in another 488 for Kessel Racing. Christian Reed, Crichton Lendudis, Claudius Schiavone and John Hartshorn. But a driver with 2 pole positions to his name already this year will finish 3rd fastest for the number 66 car. There's a glimpse of Arnold Robin sharing with brother Maxime and Val Hasclot. 2nd fastest, but it's Ryan Hardwick, also the car of Zach Robichon and Alessio Picariello, who takes a 1st pole of the year. Indeed, Porsche from Ferrari, sorry, excuse me, from Aston Martin, from Ferrari, 3 makes represented here and 3 makes in the top 3. How'd you like that? Martin Berry smiling away, but he will be disappointed with 3rd. You can get very easily used to being pole position, but it's great to actually see a gentleman driver enjoying his sport. And JMW Motorsport, a great little group to be around. Paul Thomas there, race engineering for the team this weekend. This circuit, by the way, in the Ardennes Forest, what a great place to come racing. And you can walk around this whole circuit. It's a long way and there's a lot of hills to climb, but the views are worth it. We said a little earlier in the broadcast this afternoon, we've been broadcasting for Legio European Series, for Michelin Le Mans Cup. You can join us, by the way, after the ELMS qualifying for the Michelin Le Mans Cup race live on YouTube later this afternoon. If you can get here, please come. It's free. Yes, free. Bring a few euros for a car park, you know, and some frites and mayo. Have the full Belgian racing experience without the rain at the moment. But today and tomorrow, free to come in. There's a small contribution, I think, required to the Belgian economy for the pit lane walkabouts. But it's great to see some families already here and doing exactly that. If you've never been to Spa, I mean, it's a perfect excuse to come to this part of the world, and you know, it is such a long track that you'll never get tired of finding a new angle to witness multi-class racing. It's possibly a little late in the day to be here today, but tomorrow's race for the 4 hours of Spa-Francorchamps 2023 version begins at 11:30. So even if you are a few hours away, you can get up at a reasonable time and still be here in time for some of the build-up. We'll be on air 20 minutes before that at 11:10 local, and all the way through till 3:30. And, you know, the weather can change a little bit here and there. Let's hope for maybe the odd shower just to make the multi-class racing even more entertaining. I'd bring a brolly if you are planning a trip. Yeah, absolutely. Number 1, if it's sunny, it'll keep the sun off you. Number 2, when it rains, it'll keep you dry. There you go. LMP3 cars are next, but before we move on to the LMP3 class, it's good to reflect on what comes next for the ELMS next year when the LMGT3 class will debut. And that's been one of the big topics of conversation, Johnny, in the paddock as we watch some of the leading contenders in the LMP3 class on pit road. We're going to see some very different cars. We're going to see some different teams bumped into a couple of those teams that are looking to try to find space on this grid in the paddock earlier. But before any of that, we're going to get the opportunity to speak to Steph Wentworth for the first time this weekend. And Steph, I believe, has hunted down and found pole sitter Ryan Hardwick, and we'll join that interview in just a few moments. But before we do, new cars, including the fabulous new Ford Mustang, looking like that we'll see in numbers next year. But being interrupted politely, as always, by Steph Wentworth, and she's interrupted Ryan Hardwick.
I'm joined by Ryan Hardwick, pole position sitter. Congratulations, massive smile on your face. You've got to be buzzing with that.
Yeah, I mean, first pole position for me in this series, and to do it at this track, I mean, I think this is every driver's favorite track, and for sure mine. And man, it's a special day, special moment for me. My team, you know, the whole Proton competition crew, I mean, the entire crew, the crew on all the cars here, we really all work really well together, and you know, we work on the cars, and they're never good enough, right? We're constantly looking for, you know, our ultimate best potential, and today I think we found it. I mean, my engineer Seb, he kept working really hard. We kept you know, tuning on the car, and it was unbelievable to drive today. So yeah, hats off my team, my teammates Zach and Alessio. I learned so much from those guys. You know, they're both exceptional, great drivers, and I just feel very fortunate to be here and to be driving the RSR, like the last time that this special car is going to get to race at Spa, and to be on pole with it, that's like truly special.
Fantastic. Well, enjoy your weekend. You already seem buzzing with it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
That, Johnny, is why we love gentlemen drivers. Yeah. Is because it is about enthusiasm. They don't have to be here. They could be spending their time and their resource doing a whole lot of other things, but he's doing it for the passion and for the joy. And he's absolutely right. Just those tiny little moments of history, and he's in the history books.
Totally. Yeah, and interesting that he says, you know, this is the favourite track of many, and it is mine as well. He's raced in all the big venues in the United States, but still rates Spa-Francorchamps as better than those. Worth the travel that he's been doing all year long, actually, to be part of the European Le Mans Series, and it's great to have him here as well in that sort of Wright Motorsports liveried Proton competition car. So LMP3, the championship leaders as we speak, Marcus Siebert, Alex Garcia and Adrian Schiller. And they have already got a pole position to their name as well. It was when Marcus Siebert took pole at the start of the year in Barcelona. So the 17 Cool Racing car, top of the charts. And they have a good lead, actually, of 26 points. That could be crucial heading to Portimão if they score well here, to have effectively a meeting's worth of points ahead of everybody else.
Absolutely right, and it's always the push. The push for a single point is going to be just as furious as the push for 25. It just takes place over 15 minutes and not over 4 hours. Those 15 minutes have begun. Green flag at the end of pit road, and first out is the WTM by Rinaldi racing car, and that, I think, it can be Oscar Tuño. We'll call again the drivers as they emerge. James Winslow is in the number 40 car engineering Duquesne, one of only two in this field. The number 7 Nielsen racing car, Ryan Harper Ellum, is aboard the number 7 Ligier from the previous championship winning team. The 12 WTM by Rinaldi is indeed in the hands of Oscar Tuño, and that's both of the Duquesnes out on track. The 11 from Euro International, Adam Ali, is aboard that car. Team Virage's number 8 is the hands of Manuel Espirito Santo. The number 10 car from Euro International, the hands of Glenn van Berlo. And looking further down, Wyatt Bricacek has emerged in the 13 from Inter Europol. RLR's number 15, Ligier, that's in the hands of Gail Julien. Marcus Siebert is in the hands of the wheel of the championship leading Cool Racing 17 car. Racing Spirit of Le Mans 31 car, Antoine Duquin aboard that car. Mathieu Lehay is wheeling the number 35 Ultimate car, and finally it is Valdemar Eriksson in the number 5 car from RLRM Sports, and the fun starts here.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, the 3 pole sitters we've had already this year have all been selected as qualifying drivers in this session. So I've mentioned the championship leaders, Cool Racing, with their number 17 car. It was Marcus Siebert in that Ligier that took pole position in Barcelona. Then, after a significant break, because Luc Castellet took place after Le Mans, but that was Oscar Tuño for the number 12 crew, WTM by Rinaldi Racing, and he is in the number 12 in this session too. At Aragon last time out, it was Wyatt Bricacek for Inter Europol competition. Amazingly, LMP3, their first ever pole position in P3 for Inter Europol competition.
That's stunning.
We had that stat rolled out to us. I thought that cannot be true, but it turned out it was.
A team that multiple times has finished as runner-up in the championship, and did so again in dramatic fashion last year. Last 15 minutes taken out by an GTE car. That's a stunning stat, absolutely stunning. So we are about to start the first of the quick laps. We will see again, time's improving. It is 12 minutes 22 seconds remain on the clock as I started that sentence. It is the two Duquesnes at the front of this field. Again, that's characteristic low rumble. One more season and the 3 races remaining in this season before that's replaced with an altogether different soundtrack for LMP3. Turbo power is coming to this class in just over a season's time. Switching from an engine that is undoubtedly Nissan to an engine that's based, we believe, on a Toyota.
So Oscar Tuño in the WTM by Rinaldi racing car, swinging left and right, and not only through Les Combes, but also the straight between that corner and Bruxelles to make sure he builds up and then retains the tyre temperature on this Duquesne, being pursued by the other M30 D08 in this session, Jamie Winslow for DKR Engineering. And where are all the Ligiers, I hear you ask? Well, they're quite a bit further back around the track. There's been possibly a deliberate spacing out of the cars for this session rather than pouring them all out as one, as we saw earlier on in the day in the Le Mans Cup session. There were a few more, I suppose, in that session, and then it was important to get them out as early as possible. This is not a bronze-only session, so therefore you can take your time a little bit more, expecting for the silvers, predominantly silvers that are taking part in this, to be able to turn their tyres on quickly and post a good time really from the off.
Indeed. So as you can see from a lot of the weaving going on here to get the temperature into these tyres, no tyre warmers, remember, this season, so it will take a little more time. These are not going to be the pole laps. There are big differences going to be coming through this session, but these will be, if you like, the banker times, the first flying laps time set as the two Duquesnes in formation come across the line. We'll see Oscar Tuño and then James Winslow go to the top. Winslow 2:15.275. 10 minutes to go in this session. We'll not get too excited at this point around the times we're seeing.
Oscar Tuño, the 27-year-old from Colombia, back for a second season in the European Le Mans Series. He actually ran in a couple of races last year in GTE, but first time in LMP3 in the ELMS, and has certainly made his mark in those 3 races with the 1 pole position so far to his name. Over the line here comes the number 17 championship leading cool racing car for Marcus Seibert.
Oh, bit of a wobble there for Marcus.
Marcus is the same age, I reckon. Yes, he is, from Argentina, so 2 South Americans in the lineup, and a second year in LMP3 for the Argentinian. But it's a 2:15.275 from Jamie Winslow that is quickest by 1.2 seconds. Obviously, the gaps between these cars will condense significantly in the next 9 minutes, 9 and a bit minutes, most likely. Antoine Ducas for Racing Spirit of Le Mans in the number 31 car, 3rd fastest, ahead of Aragon's pole sitter Wyatt Bricacek. He's 4th.
Yeah, you're going to start to see the next set of flying laps. All the cars have now completed a flying lap. And by the way, not a track limits infringement for any of them. Well done. The separation from top to bottom of this 12-car field, just under 9 seconds. You're going to start to see the bar come down very substantially indeed. And it's the next laps that will start to set the scene. And I can tell you already, after 2 sectors, that the best lap is going to be coming down by something 3 seconds or more. So we're getting down into the 2:12s as things start to heat up. Yeah. And the things that are starting to heat up most quickly are the 4 Michelins on the corners of these cars. Here come the 2 Duquesnes. This time Oscar Tuño, I think, has got the quicker of the cars underneath him, and it's a 2:10.928, 2:12.676 for James Winslow. So Tuño from Winslow are the first 2 in what I think are going to be the representative times. Mathieu Lehay comes through. That's a 2:14 for the first of the Ligiers. But Ryan Harper-Elms splits the 2 Duquesnes in the Nielsen Racing number 7 car, and he's 1.4 seconds off Tuño's time in the WTM by Rinaldi number 12 car.
So the Brackley-based driver from just up the road from Silverstone, Ryan Harper-Elms, racing in his second season in ELMS. He took a break from this particular championship last year to focus on the Le Mans Cup. Came back to Nielsen Racing in 2023. In fact, a first season with Nielsen Racing. He's driven with RLR, he's driven with Graf, and now with another British squad, headed by Sven, but really well organised. And Nielsen already with a pole position today with their number 7 car for Tony Wells in Le Mans Cup. But they're as high as now 3rd because Glenn von Berlo's gone through briefly to hold 2nd. Antoine Ducin skips ahead of him, known for Racing Spirit of Le Mans, getting it down to a 2:11.996, but still a 2nd away from Oscar Tuño's effort for Wochenspiegel Team Monschau.
That quite a time from Oscar Tuño that is proving to be, and there are responses to this. He's going quicker, by the way, on his next lap. He's already a 10.5 under his own session-topping time after Sector 1, so it looks set if he can keep that together, and he still has a clear track ahead of him. And does it again, by the way, in Sector 2, so it's a further 2 purple sectors with another half second being paired out of this and get down towards 2:10. Can he get under that by the end of this session? That's going to be an interesting one. Others within tenths of that, though, so this field is going to compress. Remember we said after that first lot of laps it was a 9-second spread. That spread is now 3.2 seconds.
Here's Oscar Tuño, probably to improve to 10.5 now, so he's got it down a little further. Absolute best through sectors 1 and 2, and extends the gap by a further 0.4 of a second over Antoine Ducin for Racing Spirit of Le Mans. Glenn von Berlo for Euro International, 3rd quickest. Then Ryan Harper-Ellen for Nielsen. Manuel Espirito Santo as Ryan Harper-Ellen crosses the line, and he's back to the front row provisionally. Oscar Tuño now at Radion.
That's still a second clear, this leading car from Oscar Tuño. This is a very impressive run at this point in the session. Ryan Harper-Ellen, great run to get to the second. Marcus Sieber pops up in 3rd. Just looking for where the next improvement's going to come. Manuel Espirito Santo on a good run here. He sits currently 6th rather, in the 11 Euro International car. Apologies, Team Virage, it's their brake car. Looks as if he might well improve. James Winslow, by the way, having looked very quick indeed at the start of this session, just does not at the moment appear to have the car underneath him to do that. Manuel Espirito Santo, as I said a little earlier, has indeed improved and takes it 3rd. So it is W10 by Rinaldi Racing, Nielsen Racing, Team Virage, Cool Racing. There are your 2 front rows, but nobody has got within a second of Oscar Tuño.
Still not. And where's Tuño finding the time? I think just about everywhere, really, in the WTM by Rinaldi Racing car. He's just done a 38 flat, which is pretty respectable. He's only 0.08 of a second away, although loses a bit more time through the middle sector, but only in comparison to his own best time, a 2:10.554. It's still likely to be a very good effort, and probably equaling Ryan Harper-Ellen or Manuel Espirito Santo's times for Nielsen and Team Virage, respectively. Here is Marcus Sieber for Cool Racing, arriving at Le Fagnes corner. Right and left there, continuing downhill towards campus. A touch wide maybe out onto the curb, but he kept, I think, all 4 wheels the right side of the white line. No signs of track limits being triggered just yet for the Argentinian, who is the co-leader in the championship.
Number of track limits under investigation. I'll say as well, by the way, I have noticed some GTE laps being disqualified post-session, so that's something well worth looking at when we see the overall order. But Oscar Tuño at the moment looking set fair to have a very good session, but looking as well at Team Virage, because all of a sudden Manuel Espirito Santo is finding pace. We've got 3 minutes left, a couple of laps, flying laps left for most of these cars. Across to the line here, Cool Racing's Marcus Sieber, he does not improve.
So Espirito Santo, the 20-year-old from Portugal, who took a pole position as part of the Le Mans Cup, the Road to the Le Mans event earlier in the year during Le Mans week. He's about to cross the line now, and he'll go 2nd fastest, 0.7 of a second away. So he's shaving little bits off it here and there, but still the big chunk of time at the top of the order basically remains, although Espirito Santo is closer than anybody else to Oscar Tuño.
Interestingly, though, that time around from Espirito Santo, it was a purple middle sector. Where he's losing time is in this first sector, where we've not yet seen Aligier, I don't think, post a purple sector there. This could be a critical lap, what we're going to see in this short 35-36 second sector that includes, of course, the awesome Rouge Radion section. And again, he's down on the time there from the pole-setting car at the moment.
Yeah. Gaël Julien is going quicker than the RLR Sport number 15 car has managed so far. Likewise, Mathieu Lehay starting to turn things up in this car, the 35 Ultimate entry. Valdemar Eriksson's just gone across the line, not for a PP, but he did at least have a blue time within that lap that he's just completed. And Eriksson for RLR Sport car number 5 over the line to force at least one more lap out of it for the Danish driver. Oscar Tunjo, glorious sound in the background from the WTM by Rinaldi racing car, is over the line, but it eased back a touch in the closing stages. It's only a 2:17.0. Not pitting the car quite yet, though, so obviously the team had told him stay out on track in case we need you to react to anybody getting a little too close for comfort, but it's still 0.7 of a second.
So just 1 minute left on the clock, and getting into that zone out where we're talking about which teams are going to cross the line and get a second crack at this. Replay here, and that's well wide from the Racing Spirit Le Mans car. Might say GT2 on the engine cover, but it's very much an LMP3. WTM by Rinaldi. It's looking very good indeed for what was a spectacular start to this session by Oscar Tunjo, just stringing together a couple of laps that have just left everybody else gasping. 30 seconds left, and I think the first car to cross the line for the checkered flag will be, I think it's going to be Valdemar Eriksson. At the moment is the slowest car of this group. Again, by the way, that's spread across this field under 3 seconds now, 2.7 seconds, and under 2 seconds for the top 8. Is there going to be a surprise anywhere here? I can't see where that's going to come from, Johnny. Well, checkered flag is out.
I thought it may come from the young Portuguese, but after he pitted for Team Virage and thought, I can't find the 7/10 that is required, that was the closest fight that was coming from Team Virage, and they've decided to park it up early. Oscar Tunjo continued to circulate, but doesn't really need any more heroics, because he's already pulled off that 2 minutes 10.5, which should be more than enough.
It should indeed. Looking at the other times coming, there's quick laps underway from Glenn van Berlo, 4th quickest at the moment, and from Adam Ali in 7th quickest at the moment in both the Euro International cars. That team, by the way, lucky to get here. Pretty serious accident with their team transporter in Italy on the way to Spa. Wrecked the prime mover for that, required a replacement truck, and damage as well that can be seen on the side of the trailer. Mercifully their driver okay, but the team working hard to find a replacement prime mover, and did make it here in time for testing.
Oscar Tunjo in the pit lane, being waved to the correct position, then into scrutineering to check that the car is all okay, and according to the rule book, the Proton competition car of Ryan Hardwick is parked already on the scales, as well as that is checked after its great performance in GTE qualifying. Another car heading for the pits before the end of the session is Ryan Harper-Ellen, who now receives the checkered flag in pit lane. There he is, stopping with RLR Sport, and that probably cements the top 3.
Maybe
at the end of the session.
Glenn van Berlo,
okay.
But maybe he's on the run down to the flag now in the number 10 car. He's under a second off the pole time. That could be good enough for him to grab a position. He crosses the line and doesn't quite make it. He drops time in the final sector. It's an improvement right at the end from White Brickachek, but that's no better than 8th, and it is absolutely a stunning pole position for Oscar Tunjo. And in a formula, Johnny, where you've got the same engine, you've got the same gearbox, and yes, you've got a difference between the Duquesne and the Ligier chassis, but that is some performance from Oscar Tunjo.
It's his second pole position of the season after grabbing one during race 2 at Le Castellet, and they are, well, only 3 points back from the second place drivers championship standings. So a long way back from the leaders, who are Alejandro Garcia, Adrian Schiller and Marcus Siebert. But the fight is on at the moment for second in the championship. And, of course, there are plenty of points still on offer. The point for pole position will go to car 12. And then after that, a further 77 points potentially to win, because you've got tomorrow's 25 for a race win and a further 52 from Portimão. So still plenty to shake up standings in LMP3. It is unusual to be this early on in the season and to have a 26-point lead, but that's exactly what Cool Racing have got, due to great strategy but also bad luck for one or two of their near rivals. It's a delicate operation to get Antoine Duquin's car threaded between the fuel rig and the wall of the garage, and plenty of other teams are in that position as well. Mathieu Lehay, after the session, wondering perhaps where the potential pace of his Ligier number 35 has gone, because it is one from the back in LMP3 for Mathieu Lehay. We're much more used to seeing that car further up in contention.
Yep, and so we out of LMP3. Still 2 15-minute qualifying sessions to go, unless we forget an hour and 50 minutes race later this afternoon with the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We can see yet more of these LMP3 machines in action, together with the GT3 class. But fabulous stuff still to come this afternoon from Spa-Francorchamps. It is in its pomp. There, though, Johnny, is the order in qualifying.
It's a 2:10.554 for Oscar Tuño and his second pole position of the year, and really throwing a statement out to everybody else, because the closest rival, Manuel Espirito Santo for Team Virage, 0.7 of a second adrift. Then the number 7 crew have had a good day, actually, across both major championships this weekend. Tony Wells with the pole in Le Mans Cup, and Nielsen Racing's Ryan Harper-Ellen, that he shares the car with Tony, third position in those standings. Ahead of Euro International and Glenn von Berlo, Marcus Siebert, the championship leader for Cool Racing, number 17, finishing 5th fastest, ahead of Racing Spirit of Le Mans. Then it was Euro International into Europol competition, RLR M Sport and DKR Engineering completing the top 10 in LMP3, ahead of Mathieu Lehay's Ultimate car and RLR M Sport for Valdemar Eriksson.
So that's LMP3 done, and it'll be LMP2 Pro-Am next. That's our pole-setting car. Great livery on that car. Looks stunning. Well turned out by Rinaldi Racing this season on behalf of WTM, Wochenspiegel Team Mannshow it used to be, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But it's easy to say WTM, as you've just found out.
As I've just found out, indeed. Long history racing on the Nürburgring, but getting to be quite the heritage in LMP3 as well. And they'll be right up there, punching hard in the race tomorrow. 4 hours, remember, live and free on YouTube again, with myself, with Johnny and with Steph Wentworth. And as we'll say one more time, if you can get here, come along. It's free. Get to go to Rookie World as well, by the way.
That's also true, yeah.
It's awesome.
Very close to the entrance slope here at Spa. You can duck in if you've got young children, slightly older children perhaps. There's entertainment galore within Rookie World, Rookie Land. Ryan Harper-Ellen, third fastest, the car that he shares with Tony Wells, who's already been a pole sitter today in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. So it could be a very good afternoon for Nielsen Racing. Manuel Espirito Santo for Team Virage, sharing with Nick Adcock and Michael Jensen this weekend. We caught a glimpse just a moment or two ago of Manuel. He had a great result at the Road to Le Mans event earlier in the season as well. But it's Oscar Tuño sharing with the WTM regulars, Leo Weiss, who's the son of Georg Weiss, who effectively is Wochenspiegel team, or he's, yeah, the Wochenspiegel bit of it, based in the Monschau area of Germany, just up the road from the Nürburgring. And Torsten Kratz, who I think surprised a good number of people within Murphy Prototypes at Aragon when he was a guest driver in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, not least Greg Murphy. There's been another change around in that driver lineup, I notice, this weekend. But Torsten Kratz is always rapid, often when he's given the opening stint for WTM. So looking forward to seeing how he gets on from the front of the grid in tomorrow's race.
LMP2 Pro-Am, and this is where we up the tempo once again. These fabulous Oreca 07 chassis, powered by the 4.5 litre engine from Gibson, made in the UK, Repton in Derbyshire. Great to have a fan base with all this, particularly the massive uber fan of the Oreca 07. I know Neil Martin is listening in. Neil is renowned as being, I think, the world authority on just how great the Oreca 07 is. So glad you're with us, Neil. Enjoy the next 15 minutes and the 15 minutes after that and the 4 hours after that tomorrow. Dragon Speed here on pit road. This will be the car taken to track by Rick Edman. Just say, by the way, Johnny, we've got one fewer car here, and we'll have one fewer car for the last 2 races at Portimão, because very unfortunately, after an incident at Aragon that saw him not in that race, Jim Maguire with an injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. I'm sure you're looking in, Jim. Wish you well. Hope that you're comfortable. Nasty injury, I know. And hope that's not bothering you any more than not being able to drive an LMP2 car. Good luck with that. We will see you trackside at some point in the near future, I'm sure. But it does mean that that third United Autosports car will not be with us for the remainder of this season, Johnny, and that's to regret.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's always good to see that often the United Autosports cars sometimes running together. They're coming off the back, of course, collectively of a race victory last time out at Aragon with Phil Hansen and his teammates Ollie Jarvis, Marino Sato in that car, taking victory for the first time. They also now land at a track that they have loved through the years, United Autosports, particularly with Phil Hansen part of that lineup. So, yeah, it would be taking some brave character to bet against them, maybe getting back-to-back wins, and that would properly put them back in the championship hunt here at Spa.
Well,
I'm talking about LMP2 proper.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're going to be doing Pro-Am first. Well, it's not the best build-up, but...
You mentioned Phil Hansen. Phil, in the next session, looking to double up on his first ELMS pole position at Aragon. He then followed up with his first pole position in the WEC at Fuji. He's on a hat-trick.
Yes. So in a rich vein of form, Phil Hansen. And we know all about his ability to win not just races, but titles.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of years ago, winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans, winning the European Le Mans Series, the FIA World Endurance Championship at LMP2 level as well. So maybe they've turned a corner at United Autosports, and there is a car in this session from that team as well. That's the number 21 car.
World-class field of LMP2 cars, and a world-class countdown from 10 as always from Eduardo Freitas, our race director. We'll get to do that one more time today with the LMP2 proper. Difference, of course, between these two classes, the 10 cars on track right now, Johnny, all these have a crew that features at least one bronze driver. But beyond that, the depth of talent is absolutely world-class. I was talking to some of the teams at Fuji for the World Endurance Championship, and the last weekend at Indianapolis and the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. And in the conversation about LMP2, both those conversations reference just what we've got here and what there is to celebrate this year, and I'm sure next as well. Whatever we got this year, boy oh boy, hang on to your hats for what's going to happen next year in 2024 with the European Le Mans Series. But who is out there aboard the number 3 D-Car engineering car? This is the car, the oldest car in the field, a 2017 chassis from Oreca. It comes here as the winner of the title in the Asian Le Mans Series this year and has raced at Le Mans again this year. Tom Van Rompuy is aboard the number 3. 19 from Team Virage, Alexander Matschel. Fred Pordad is aboard the number 20 from Algarve Pro Racing. Daniel Schneider from Brazil is in the United Autosports USA number 21. 24 from Nielsen Racing, Rodrigo Salles, and Sally Yorick, one of the reigning champions in the Asian Le Mans Series for DKR, is in his own team, Racing Team Turkey, the 34 car that has taken an overall win this season. Alexandra Kwani from Cool Racing from Switzerland in the 37 car. Dragon Speed USA, as we say, for the man from Sweden that now lives in the USA, and Rick Edman in the 81 car, a bronze driver that has won races overall. As we saw, that was clearly assault there from Nelson Piquet Jr.
Dreadful behaviour.
I'll back him off, it goes to law. Francois Perrodo, AF Corsa number 83, multiple title winner in the FIA World Endurance Championship, and Giorgio Roda from Proton Competition in the number 99 Oreca rounds out a 10-car field in LMP2 Pro-Am. There are gentlemen drivers. You want to see just how deep this field is, take a look online at the ELMS website, take a look at the driver list. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The other difference between competition in the World Endurance Championship and the ELMS is that, yes, you've got to have a bronze in all these cars. You can't then have 2 platinums. It's got to be either 1 platinum and 1 gold, or maybe even 2 golds, but the absolute maximum you can have is platinum, gold, bronze in this driver combination. So it's really it's a delicate process selecting your drivers in that respect. It
is, but boy oh boy if they dip deep in the talent well.
True.
It's quite staggering. We've got, is it 2, 3 world champions? Neil Jarni is in this field.
He is.
We've got Jimmy Bruni in this field. And by the way, Jimmy, one of 3 drivers here this weekend that has raced for the last 3 weekends. He's the only one that's raced for the same team. So we've got Neil, Louis Delatraz and Ben Hanley. All 3 of those drivers have raced both in the WEC and then in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship over the last 3 weekends. The other 2, always in LMP2 and for 3 different teams. But Neil, Hypercar and GTP in the fabulous Porsche 963, and he's having a bit of a weekend cool down in an Orica 07 that's only ever finished twice overall, second overall at the Le Mans 24 Hours. Barely worth turning up. There's sports car racing legend Oliver Gavin there. He does a bit of talking into microphones too.
Apparently so. Neil Jarni is actually the championship leader, but not in LMP2 Pro-Am, because he is joined by Nico Pino and Rene Binder in the LMP2 field without the Pro-Am bit at the end. So we will get action potentially from Neil, who will be permitted to qualify later on in this session. That's the number 30 Duquesne team car. By the way, we've had 3 qualifying sessions so far this year. How many pole sitters? Just the 1, because Sally Jolich has had a clean sweep. So he's done his hat-trick, and he's potentially on course for a 4th in a row. Can he get all 6 and go all... name I've completely forgotten now. Who did it in LMP3? Danish kid.
I'm not going to tell you. Melter Jakobsen's the one you're looking for, but I'm not going to tell you.
Thank you. No, don't.
By the way, the other world champion I was searching for is, of course, Pachito Lopez, who's in this field as well in LMP2's first season in LMP2. Just talent after talent. That's just 3 names. Juan Pablo Montoya's racing in this race, a Formula 1 race winner. You know, there is a depth of talent here I genuinely don't think we've ever seen in the P2 field anywhere in the world.
It is incredible, and it just shows how attractive the European Le Mans Series is these days. I think one thing that goes in its favour is that there are only 6 races a year, so you can move a few things around in the diary and go, yeah, I'm okay for all of those. And there certainly had to be 1 or 2 looks at the schedule for the final race weekend of the year at Portimão in 4 weeks' time, because we're effectively starting that race meeting a day earlier than was originally planned, with a Friday race for the ELMS, followed by yet more qualifying the following day, and then the Sunday race to finish the season. And if that wasn't enough, there's then the championship presentations and celebrations taking place on the Sunday night, as is typical in Portugal. Here is the man of the moment, though, in qualifying, and certainly when it comes to doing well in the championship for Pro-Am drivers, and that is Sally Jolich. Although, interestingly, with their disaster of a result in Aragon last time out of a 9th place finish within Pro-Am, the championship lead is now in the hands of Francois Perraudot and Mathieu Vaxivière. Perraudot out in this session in car number 83. Alessio Rivera not been a permanent fixture alongside Mathieu and Francois, so he is a number of places back, a number of points back in the championship standings.
Yeah, that's because Ben Barnicoat for the last couple of races has been a bit cup-tied with his IMSA commitments, either racing or testing with. He's a de facto Lexus factory driver over there. So Alessio steps in. Jack Hawksworth as well, by the way, in a similar position. So he's been replaced for this race again. Here's where we start with the laps that are going to count, because they've just got the big leap now with the heat into the Goodyear tyres on the LMP2 cars, of course. Giorgio Roda first across the line with a representative time of 2:06.940. Sally Jolich, though, takes about 5.5 tenths out of that. The new mark for provisional pole, 2:06.381.
So good initial times coming through, but this will take shape very similarly to the GTE session, with it being only bronzes allowed in it. So they're getting used to the car, they're getting used to the current track conditions. We've had little running in free practice, 2 90-minute free practice sessions, one yesterday, one today. But I suppose this morning's one was predominantly dry, but yesterday was a little bit iffy. So there are maybe some bronze drivers that are short on track time. There was a bronze-only session, though, of course, as well, earlier on in the weekend. But thankfully, all these drivers greeted with near ideal conditions now at Spa-Francorchamps. Some being pinged for track limits on their very next tour, including Francois Perrodo and Henrik Hedman in the Dragon Speed number 81 car. So they'll have to wipe this lap from their memory banks and push on again. But time is slipping away. Now only 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go.
Yeah, Alexandre Kwani, by the way, pops up into 3rd quickest place at the moment. It's a 10-second split with a couple of track limits coming to that kind of pitch, and that includes, unfortunately, for Rodrigo Sales in the 24 Nielsen racing car. He's at the moment not the quickest of these. He's 10th in a field of 10, but that comes courtesy of track limits. All of a sudden, though, hotting up between Sally Jolic and Giorgio Roda, and for me, Roda's pace has been coming, and Roda is the man that looks most likely right now to steal that crown of a whitewash for pole positions from Sally Jolic. It's going to be tight in this session.
Yeah. So half a second the margin at the moment, but it's going to be a lot narrower, you would sense, after the current laps for Sally and for Giorgio.
Here comes Roda. Roda will go to the top here, and he goes to the 2:06.1.235 of a second quicker than Sally Jolic. Jolic goes through now, goes back to the top, and does it by 3/10, and that's come courtesy of the, what is that? It's a stunning final sector. 4/10 quicker than Giorgio Roda.
Yeah,
Roda had set a purple sector in the middle sector there, but it's a great response from the Turkish driver.
Well, partway around that lap, it was predicted to be about a 10th of that 2.96. I think it was 26 thousandths of a second he was going to be quicker than Roda, and then all of a sudden comes across the line, and it's basically 3/10. However, Roda's finding more time.
It was 26 thousandths slower. He's reversed.
Really?
It was the change came in that 3rd sector, and that's been the sector that's been tricky throughout the weekend. Sally, though, again going quicker this time. You're quite right, goes purple in the 1st sector. Closing in as well, by the way, new 3rd place quickest car, DK Engineering in the hands of Tom van Rompuy. The 3 car goes through the 2:07.302, but that's a second and a half off the pace of the 2 men at the moment that are occupying the front row in this class.
Tom van Rompuy. Then the best of the rest, if you like, but yeah, there's a reasonable cushion over Alexandre Kwani. Alexander Matchell for Team Virage, trying to pick up the pace. He's just done a personal best through that 1st sector, and 2 PBs for Fred Pordan on the same lap for Algarve Pro Racing.
The driver I'm looking at to improve here, because it's been a messy start to this session, is Francois Perrodo. He is now 10th. But he's just a 10th off the pace of the front row 2 on his current, what is this, lap 5 after the 1st sector. Both of the top 2 cars looking set to improve. Here comes Giorgio Roda to complete his lap. He will, I think, briefly go to the top of time gun scoring. It's currently on a 2:06.1, needs to be a 2:05.8. What is this going to be? As he crosses the line, we'll soon see. It's a 2:05.8. He's not quick enough, and Sally Jolic is going to extend the envelope, and does indeed, and extends the gap now to 6.5 tenths. Quick flash of the lights, he crosses the line, and I think he thinks that's good enough now.
Yeah, well, we're certainly within that territory, 0.6 of a second clear of Giorgio Roda. Francois Perrodo, the joint championship leader, here he is into the final chicane. It's actually interesting to track his qualifying results from the first 3 races, because Perrodo, he was 6th fastest in Barcelona, 5th fastest Le Castellet, 4th quickest at Aragon,
and
now goes 4th fastest here. But if you track that graph, really he needs to be 3rd fastest to continue on, and might even get a pole, therefore, in the final race at Portimão.
Failure for Francois Perrodo. Never rated him.
Terrible. And yet, even though he's a dreadful qualifier, I'm joking, Francois, still leading the championship. So it's not all about quali, is it, this endurance lark?
You're really brave sitting in a closed room on the other end of the paddock.
It's fine, because nobody knows really where we sit. The first question that anybody asks me in the paddock, where are you commentating from? I'm not going to tell you, because some of the comments have come out about drivers recently. There are bodyguards involved too. It's Graham.
Yeah, that's not going to be much of a protection. It's going to be said. 2.5 minutes to go. Sally Jolic is 6.5 tenths to the good from Giorgio Roda. Still piling on the pressure, Giorgio Roda, but not quite on pole pace here. Tom van Rompuy aboard this car, the number 3 from Decar Engineering. And Alexander Kwani and Alexander Matschel have both now gone quicker than Francois Perraudot. So it's heating up, but not for the front row in the class. Remember, we still have another LMP2 qualifying session to come. And with that, there ain't no bronzes in that one.
Certainly not. And usually, that does go to the wire, even though we talk about the bronze sessions generally going right to the wire and the all-pro sessions being quickly sorted out. There's so much bragging rights, I suppose, from a generally all-pro session in that final 15 minutes. That will run, and there will be tenths, if not 1/100ths of a second, between some of those crucial times. Both the quickest cars in this session have now pitted, Giorgio Roda and Sally Jolic, so they think not a lot more is going to change. Remember, the peak of the tyre, the Goodyear tyre, has probably gone now as well, although some of these tyres will be used in the race because they are very durable when you're thinking about race times. Actually, they're giving Giorgio Roda new tyres. No. However, there's only a minute left on the clock. I
wonder if that's just tyres. They would just want to take the sheen off from the start it's in his...
So we do a lap, but obviously he won't get round quick enough time to set a quick time, but it's an excuse to scrub another set of Goodyear tyres.
On a quick lap at the moment, and worth watching. Not going to be on pole position, but it's a good lap at the moment from Alexandra Kwani, and he stands with the potential here to grab 3rd place on this grid. Here he comes in the 37 car, coming back after a bit of sabbatical, the Swiss, and he's been involved in cool racing from the very beginning. This could be quite a significant lap time. Is it going to do what it needs to do? The answer is it doesn't quite. He falls slightly short, but he's been improving through this session and through this season. Oh, and that's a somewhat clumsy off from Daniel Schneider.
It almost looked like it saved that moment, and then all of a sudden the car shot further forward and into the gravel trap, so having to go all the way through the stones there.
Almost looked like he grabbed the throttle rather than the brake.
Possibly so.
There is Sally Jolic.
And a quick exhale, but he does make it 4 in a row. Gets some congratulations from Louis Delatraz, his teammate in the 34 car as well. And, well, again, some statements similar really to what happened in LMP3 from Sally Jolic.
Sets pole, has enough time to get out, get undressed, tickle Charlie Eastwood's daughter's tummy, and have a chat with Louis Delatraz, 3-course meal, read the newspaper, catch up on what's going on Twitter, complain about something we said on air, and then we'll then meet up with Steph Wentworth.
All of that, and still have time for maybe, I don't know, watching some football tonight or a pleasant evening meal. And then someone will say, what did you do today? And he says, oh, not watch. Well, I was on pole again in the European Le Mans Series, though. And, yeah, 4 wins in a row. So Malte Jakobsen's record, although that was in P3, of course, could well be equalled by the man from Istanbul. So it's Team Turkey, quicker than Proton. Now on an out lap, but not going to improve. However,
good lap here. Yeah, good lap here from Rodrigo Salas. He's currently, where is he? 5th in the order. I think can improve here. He's 2.6 seconds off for his best lap time. A little bit stumble through there with traffic in the bus stop, but I think can make progress here up the order. Where is he going to finish? He doesn't, and I think it was that final sector that did the damage. So Rodrigo Salas beginning to show flashes of the form. We said it was this cost him dearly. Yeah. Oh, God, we didn't see that. Yeah, that's what did it. I think he could have been 3rd.
So unfortunately, that's wrenched away from him. Alexander Matschel, I'm not quite sure why he was going so slowly into the chicane. Maybe thinking, well, I've done my session. I'm just touring my way into the pits.
Ollie Gavin there, reading about the highlights of his career. It won't take him long. Yeah.
I think he's done, actually, already. That was only a couple of minutes.
That was it.
Is there a risk that Matschel might be done for blocking there in the closing stages?
That wasn't great.
because obviously he's realised, right, my session's over, the start of this lap it wasn't great, so I'm going to back off, but you're then sitting on the racing line and preventing anyone who is on a quick lap from completing it going through the chicane there.
Were I Alexander Matchell, I would go and apologise for that.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. But that
in the grand scheme of things, Rodrigo Salas might have got third from fifth, but nevertheless, well, it's going to be looked at, and I think that's quite rightly so. The incident involving car 24 and 19 now under investigation at turn 19. There's only one man we can speak to right now, though. It's a clean sweep so far in qualifying.
And with Sally Olic, driver of the number 34 team at Racing Turkey. Congratulations again. It's 4 out of 4 pole positions. It's a great season so far for you.
Yeah, it's been good qualifying wise. I hope we get a better result than we did in Motorland here as well, and retake the championship lead as we are supposed to.
And how are you enjoying this circuit? Because Spa is an iconic track. How are you finding it out there?
Oh, this is my favorite track for sure. I mean, I think so as a lot of other drivers as well. It's super fast and super flowing, so yeah, it's nice to drive.
And you have a lot of pace this weekend, as always. Do you think you will be able to challenge for the overall victory potentially?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, it's interesting how quickly a man of few words, but he does his talking on the track, how quickly the season sort of not got away from them, but a 9th place finish at Aragon and much more consistency from the Perodo-Vaxivière duo. First, second and third means that they top the championship by 3 points, but it's a 2:05.2 and another pole position for Racing Team Turkey ahead of Giorgio Roda's Proton competition car. DKR Engineering third fastest ahead of Cool Racing and Nielsen Racing. Team Virage, Alexander Matchell's incident there with Rodrigo Salas going to be looked at. AF Courses number 83, Francois Perodo. So it was 6, 4, 3, and now he's gone in the other direction to 7th place as qualifying. But to be honest, if you're not going to score the point as pole position, then you could start 2nd or indeed 7th. It doesn't tell you how well potentially the Perodo-Vaxivière car is going to go in the race, and they are the nearest rivals, I would say, on race pace to Racing Team Turkey.
Just one other thing I noticed there, Johnny, looking down that 10-car qualifying lineup. It's 10 cars, 9 different nations are represented with the teams there. It's a proper European Championship. It's been a cracking display this year, and we've still got these 7 cars in LMP2 still to come. The full pro lineups, the silver, gold, platinum lineups, no bronze drivers in any of these lineups. This is the Delage livery, beautiful colour, 28 EDEX Sport car. But again, another galaxy of stars.
5 minutes to open pit lane. LMP2 cars are now allowed on the working lane. LMP2 cars are now allowed on the working lane.
So the LMP2 Pro-Am cars will be put away. The LMP2 class cars will be emerging, as you can see now. And we up the tempo again. It's part of the beauty, isn't it, of this qualifying format. It does take a while to get through it. Yeah. 4 15-minute sessions. But what we see throughout this is faster and faster through the sessions and faster through the classes. 15 minutes to come of barely controlled mayhem.
Again, one car has taken 2 pole positions, and that is the car that features Jose Maria Lopez. So that's a Cool Racing car, but it was Richard de Gueras who took pole position at the opening round. And then I'll need to check who was driving it for the second pole position. I have a feeling that was Pachito Lopez. And then the third qualifying session was topped by Oliver Jarvis for United Autosports. That was prior to them then taking the race win at Aragon. But because they're all the same car, because they're all powered by the same Gibson 4.2 litre V8, and everything else is pretty much equal other than how the teams choose to set them up, this again will be incredibly close, much closer, I would wager, than the session we've just witnessed, with every respect to Sally Olic, but he is the class of the Pro-Am field.
Indeed, and looking here at the Panis Racing car, number 65, had a bit of a tumble in free practice earlier, cold tyres, damaged the front left of the car, but did manage to get the car back out and running, which is great news.
And it was Pachito Lopez who took pole position at Le Castellet. it was Phil Hansen, I beg your pardon, it was Phil Hansen who took pole position.
It was his first pole. First pole in the LMS.
Of course.
Another thing we had to check.
You said that to me earlier on, and obviously I rejected that completely.
You've filtered it out because it came from me. It's just bias.
Maybe so. But the point about it being now on a absolutely a hat-trick, if they choose Phil to be qualifying driver, because he also took pole in Fuji as the penultimate round of the World Endurance Championship.
He did indeed.
28 thousandths of a second it was in Aragon. It was only a handful of weeks ago. But from Neil Jarni and Ollie Caldwell and Pachito Lopez, so really the cream of LMP2 action that we've talked about, and that was Phil Hansen finding his form once again.
We talk in the FIA World Endurance Championship about a golden era of endurance racing, and this is a big part of it. It's not just the ladder, it's the depth of and the quality of the talent and the field. It is again a full field here in the European Le Mans Series. It will be a full field again next year in the European Le Mans Series. The talent amongst the teams, the talent amongst the drivers, pretty much peerless. There's another legend, so Ollie Gavin. There's another legend from that same era, and this is Nick Manazio. He's the sporting director of EDEC Sports, and another of the really truly nice guys of motorsport. And in a great position with EDEC Sport to make a big splash. They've got some interesting plans for next season outside of the European Le Mans Series with a programme I hear they're trying to put together, and we wait for the green light to start another 15 minutes, Johnny, and which talents are going to be thrown into the fray for this one.
Let's take this moment to remind drivers of the need to keep the cars between the two white lines, and any lap which we see or is reported by the marshals as being done beyond track limits will be within the possibilities immediately deleted. Laps which are reported by the track marshals, they will be later confirmed on the available footage.
Right, so there's kind of two layers to that. You've got the immediate deletion of a lap if it's obvious you've gone across the white line, but then you need a sort of confirmation post-session that, yes, the lap time that was your quickest, in inverted commas, is now a legal lap time. Yeah,
basically, put it into a different context. It's basically, I've told you what the rules are. If you disobey the rules, I'll beat you up. And if my mates tell me that you've disobeyed the rules, I'll beat you up later. That's roughly it. It's either
a thrashing now or one later on in the day. To know your place, and we all do when it comes to Eduardo Freitas,
under 30 seconds
director,
to start LMP2 qualifying.
Together
under 30
with his
seconds.
highly skilled and very responsible team. There has been a variety of voices across ELMS weekends through the course of the year. And this is the session that really everyone's been waiting for. We've been building up, as engaging and enthralling the previous three sessions have been. This will decide ultimate pole position, should do anyway. And who are the 7 selected drivers for qualifying in LMP2?
Well, we're going to be seeing those names appearing on the timing and scoring screens in just a few moments. We'll call them as we see them. It is Phil Hansen going for a hat-trick of pole positions. The young Brit in the number 22 for United Autosports. 28 for EDEC Sports. Lawrence Herr, another emerging talent, young German, making waves in LMP2. Duquesne fielded René Binder in the number 30 car. That's had a great season so far, Johnny. 47 for Cool Racing. It is Vladislav Lomko, Job van Utrecht in the number 65 car, into Europol in the 43 car, the Le Mans winning team, of course, Jonathan Aberdeen. We wait to see who is going to be coming out in the number 25 car for Algarve Pro, a team that includes Kiffin Simpson. It's not going to be Kiffin, who's just been announced as a 2024 IndyCar full-season driver. Instead, it is Cadillac full-season factory driver Alex Lynn, who is going to put his shoulder to the plough.
So we should at some point compare and contrast drivers within this session to the session previous to this at Aragon. Hansen retained, but there's certainly a change within the 30 crew, and René Binder replacing Neil Jarni as qualifying driver from one round to the next. And Jarni got within 28 thousandths of a second of Phil Hansen around the perhaps slightly lesser known contours of Aragon circuit. That was a real leveller, whereas this, I would imagine, you know, collectively, numbers of laps from all of these drivers would be at ridiculous levels. They know this place like the backs of their hands. And therefore, it's going to be a real tussle out on track. Thankfully, the weather not having its say at this stage. And the forecast, the midweek forecast for Sunday was actually pretty good for the ELMS race. So maybe it's going to be all down to strategy rather than the weather making the narrative change. First car out on track is that of Phil Hansen, who is now heading out of Blanchimont and into the crucial braking area for the final chicane. And although the time does not matter at this stage, certainly the way he exits, in fact, he's going to dive straight into the pits. I was about to say the way he exits the final corner at turn 19 and whips across the line is so crucial. But no, they're either going to do a tyre switch here or give him a completely different set of good years.
Indeed, I think it's going to be, again, just prepping some tyres ahead of the race tomorrow. Don't think there was any problem there. They've got tyres ready, so that is exactly what it is.
Well, Alex Lynn is not yet back, so we don't know whether he's going to stay out. The 43 car of Jonathan Aberdeen may well be heading into pit lane as well, so it might be the full field here that are doing exactly this.
And I think he's coming too. Yes, he has. So everybody's done the same. So it's almost, for anybody standing trackside, kind of 3-minute delay.
Yeah.
But this is all about the strategy. What's going on here?
There's the black and green of Rene Binder. Was that something dropping off his car?
It's either dropped off it or it's been picked up by it and thrown. But see whether or not that's anything of importance. I should imagine most things on the race car are important, otherwise it wouldn't be on the race car.
Indeed so, but if it's something already on the track surface, although with 5 minutes interval between the last session and this, the marshals could afford some time to head out on track and investigate, pick up any foreign objects like that. So Phil Hansen's back on the Kemmel Straight as an outlap. Laurence Hoare is a bit further up the road. No, he's behind on the road. So Phil Hansen managed to get out again in front of everybody else, and that makes sense because he was the first to appear on pit road.
They're looking around the car because they've clearly been told about those pictures, so they're looking to see whether or not there's anything that may have come off that car.
Yeah, but it was being flung around at such energy, such velocity, it was very difficult to actually pick out precisely what it was. Maybe the team don't quite know either.
Well, there's always the outside possibility it's something that should have been on it in the first place. Is the other thing, something it may have picked up on a tyre or picked up from the track and then been flung away. But there certainly doesn't seem to be any urgency about this unless Rennie has reported a problem. He's about to be sent though, and we are very soon going to get underway for 10 minutes of barely controlled craziness. Fantastic.
Slight slide and squirm there from Phil Hansen's number 22, United Autosports Orica. The screen, well, the area that Phil will be using, peering through of the windscreen, is perfectly clean, but the bit outside of the windscreen arches splattered in mud and gunk from the weekend, and I'm surprised they've not attempted to at least clean that a little bit more, but it might actually be the early stuff that was picked up in this session, in fact, depending on how bad the confines of the circuit are, the exterior of it.
Well, bear in mind, it's probably not an area of the screen he needs to look through.
No, true.
I think it's the key thing. It's, there's not a lot of visibility in these cars, and you're going to be guarding what you need to use. Jules Duquesne there in the Duquesne team. All sorts of things going on there too. Hearing they've got ambitions in the hypercar class, whether or not they get the nod. Certainly I've spotted Gilles talking to some interesting people at Monza.
A very lonely looking Phil Hansen on the Kemmel Straight. He won't care one jot about that though, picking out the braking point and the apex from a long way back to turn through Le Combe corner. The right, the left, the right, riding the curve on the exit and then heading downhill towards this tricky entrance to what is a pretty slow corner, which is Bruxelles, the old Rivage, over to the left-hand side, but then quickly to the right to then head through Speaker's Corner. You can afford to take quite a bit of curve on the exit there, particularly as it's been dry now for several hours. And then the Double Gauche, or Pouhon, where you tuck in first of all, then allow the car to wash out mid-corner, before then really missing the second apex there, and again allowing the car to use the full width of the track available. So we're nearing the end of the second sector. Phil is purple through the first, but bear in mind he is the first car of these quick runs of the track, being released from the pit lane as first. So we need to be looking further down the order to see whether these times are being bettered. In the initial stages, they're not, though.
They're not. It's an interesting rhythm, very different rhythm to the LMP2 Pro-Am session, isn't it? Where the imperative there is getting as many laps for those cars as possible. Completely the opposite here, and calmer.
Yeah.
It's just total confidence that these 7 drivers are going to deliver a very good lap time, and they don't need 6 or 7 or 8 laps to do it. That's the difference in the rhythm in this qualifying session. Amazing when you've got effectively the same cars, and in many cases the same teams, and a completely different game plan.
That's right. And whereas, I remember World Endurance Championship sessions here where tyres are so limited for the race, you literally do an out lap, a quick lap, and then back in again, because any more damage to a race set of tyres could prove crucial in 6 hours of action. We're only racing, we're only racing 4 hours tomorrow. It's a significant length of race, and again, tyres are at a premium.
Yep, so 209.244 is the first offer from Phil Hansen. He goes to the top ahead of Laurens Heur, Vlad Lomko and Job van Uter. They're the 4 drivers that have so far posted a flying lap time. I can tell you on Phil Hansen's next lap there's a big step in time coming, so that 209 is not going to be the pole position time unless something incredibly dramatic happens in about the next 60 seconds. So looking like Alex Lynn is going to come forward through this field with a very good lap time as well in the 25 car, as you can see from the times at the bottom of the screen. He is under the provisional pole time in both the first and second sectors at the moment. But this is going to be close, just judging by the lap times we're seeing from sector times on our timing screens in the booth here. As Alex then goes at 207.614, 1.6 seconds quicker than Phil Hansen's time. But I can tell you that Hansen's current lap is going to leapfrog that unless he can't complete a third sector. Here he is now. As you can see, he's 3 seconds under his delta time. That should put him well over a second quicker than Alex Lynn's first proper flyer. It does go rather deeply into their bus stop there. That wasn't the perfect line for the young Englishman. But, Phil Hansen will cross the line, goes to the top by 3.5 seconds.
Wow.
That is a 204.067. Now,
again, question marks about what game was being played at the start of the session with tyres. Alex Lynn's just done a 36.1 as now Vlad Lomko crosses the line. That really does get the gap down, although it's still over a second. 1.2 the gap between Phil Hansen and Vlad Lomko for Cool Racing. Laurens Heur over the line within 0.296 of a second now of Phil Hansen's effort. So the young German for EDEX Sport will join Hansen on the provisional front row.
Indeed, Hansen, Heur, Job van Uter pops in 0.3 off that pole time, so we're getting to very small gaps indeed now. What can Alex Lynn do on this lap? At the moment, he's 5 thousandths up on the pole time in the first sector, but what can he do in that long middle sector? Is that delta time going to go purple, or is it going to go blue? It goes purple, and he's a 10th inside, so this could be a very significant lap indeed from Alex Lynn.
The 4th lap, which at the moment is Phil Hansen's best lap, is to be deleted because of a track limit indiscretion at turn 7, which is the exit of Le Com corner. It hasn't yet disappeared, or maybe it has disappeared.
Has gone
Fine, and that now changes it to 0.02 of a second between Laurens Heur and Alex Lynn. So it's Lynn, Heur and Job van Uter all changing because Lynn's just crossed the line to go quicker. Talk me through it, Graham.
What it was Heur ahead of van Uter, and then Lynn leapfrogged both of them
at the same time.
Alex Lynn has now got 0.8 of a second, a cracking lap from the Cadillac factory driver. Crossing the line now, Rennie Binder goes second. So he leapfrogs Laurens Heur and Job van Uter as Phil Hansen would you believe it, cycles down to last position from being pole position, what was it, 30 seconds ago.
So it's a 2:04.067, which was his fourth lap. He now goes back up to second, though, with a 2:03.876, and that is 0.3 of a second away from Alex Lynn's time. It'll be the 47 car of Vlad Lomko to cross the line very shortly indeed, and Vlad Lomko will go fourth for Cool Racing, number 47. And now we're looking out for the 28 car of Laurence Hoare for Edex Sport.
Quick lap from Laurence Hoare. He goes second. He goes second by 0.225 of a second. So that's a cracker of a lap. Alex Lynn's lap time, though, sits supreme at the moment. He's on another quick one now, as is Phil Hansen. Hansen up at the moment after the first sector on the pole time. He's not given this one up. He's got purple, sector 1. Vlad Lomko at the moment struggling to stick with this pace. He's in 7th and 1.7 seconds off it, and track limits last time around.
Yeah, so actually his lap that he'd completed, although outside of the confines of the track, was good enough to give him 5th position. Great to see the Panis Racing car out there after they had an off during free practice 2 for Joop van Uitert, but they repaired that car in time for the end of FP2, in fact. And Joop is 5th quickest in car 65.
Cool down lap here for the number 25 car that sits on pole position. Now, is that going to be into pit lane and done, or is he going to go one more time in what is under 2 minutes remaining? Crosses the line now. Is that pit lane, or is it through to complete the lap? It is the latter, so it's one more lap for Alex Lynn to retain his pole position. Phil Hansen clears the second sector. He is 1/1000th of a second off the pole position time after 2 sectors. So if he can keep that average up, it would be 1/1000th of a second at the end of the lap.
Yeah.
28 car, this is Laurence Hoare, stepping wide, and that's track limits.
And also doesn't do a great deal of goodness for the bottom of the car. Phil Hansen has crossed the line, and he might have been within 1/1000th of a second. He crosses the line within 1/10th of a second to Alex Lynn. It's a 2:03.6. Alex's time a 2:03.5. We've got a 2:03.7 from Laurence Hoare, although not on the lap that he's currently doing, because we know that that was very wide exiting Le Com corner.
I think Phil Hansen's given this one up. Phil is not going again.
40 seconds left on the clock. Those from various teams up and down pit road continue to watch on. It's an absolute best through the first sector for Phil Hansen. He then did a personal best in the middle sector, but the third sector was just a little bit off. I say a little bit, literally a 10th off. However, Alex Lynn might not be done yet, because he could better his 2:03.5 if he continues to push at the rate that he is. René Binder's just done a personal best through the first sector as well.
Jonathan Aberdeen under a 10th off pole time through sector 1 as well. So all sorts going on here. It's still on schedule, Alex Lynn, after sector 2. He's 7/1000ths off his own pole pace. There are other drivers out there that with a strong second sector can get within reach. Lynn is pushing, and I think he has bailed out of that. I think he was heading pit lane.
He was showing signs as if he was going to go right, and yeah, the man waving the checkered flag thought, well, it's pointless me continuing to wave, because the car I was about to show it to has pulled off to the right for Algarve Pro Racing. Brief glimpse there of Stuart and Sam Cox from that team.
Yeah, indeed he has.
So Phil Hansen is somewhere in the middle sector, but showing signs of, well, very much signs of backing off. He's just done a time 15 seconds slower than everybody else, so he feels like his tyres have given all that they can.
Aberdeen did not improve on that lap. Joop van Uitert, though, is on a quick lap as well. Still life in this. I don't see pole position changing, but I do see the possibility, as James Allen there showing how pleased he is not to be in the car. A racing driver not in a car is a grumpy racing driver.
That's true, although he knows that those within his team do a very, very good job as well. I think James is being reserved for that crucial final stint, potentially, or final stints tomorrow. Generally, LMP2 cars can do about 40 minutes under green flag conditions. 40 minutes times 6 gets you to your 4 hours, but you only have 3 sets of tyres, so that forces you to be double stinting on 3 occasions.
Just seen a picture, by the way, of the United Autosports garage, Jim Maguire's here, which is
Oh,
great. He's not racing, but he's here. There's Sam Cox. She'll be delighted with that. This little team from Portugal, quietly, efficiently, has become one of the most successful LMP2 teams on the planet.
Yes. They took a race win at Le Castellet, remember, and have been on the podium, well, only been on the podium twice out of 3 races, a 5th place to start their year, and since then a win and a 3rd place puts them virtually as championship leaders. They've just missed out on that by a point to Neil Jarni, Nico Pino and Rene Binder, but they will now draw level because of that extra point for pole position. So both of our championship leaders on 51 points.
Multiple champions in the Asia Le Mans Series, winners in the LMP2 Pro-Am at the Le Mans 24 Hours, have always been contenders here, have always put together teams of great-looking cars that have been in contention. And if your impression of Algarve Pro Racing is governed by a BBC documentary about Chris Hoy, you know what? You need to watch some of the racing and see what these guys do with what they've got available to them, and look at some of the talent that's in that garage, whether or not they're wearing the driver's helmet or whether or not they're mechanicking these cars. It's a stellar little team.
And going from strength to strength, what a title it would be for Algarve Pro Racing to win the European Le Mans Series. 3rd fastest for EDEX Sports, Laurence Rohr for the number 28 car, despite once or twice running off the road. Phil Hansen didn't quite get the hat-trick of pole positions, narrowly missing out by a 1/10 of a second. He finishes 2nd, but the pole goes to Alex Lynn. Let's get reaction from the team.
I'm joined by James Allen, one of the drivers of the 25 Algarve Pro Racing. Congratulations. Alex just put it on pole. You guys must be buzzing. It set you up for a good weekend.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, he put in an amazing lap. Like at the start of the weekend, we thought, maybe this was one of our weaker tracks, but we really turned it around after FP1, and it's really been amazing work by the whole team. And of course, Alex put in that amazing lap just to sort of seal it off. Now eyes forward for tomorrow, and hopefully we can put that away as well. It would be good championship points, and nice to get one for pole as well.
All right, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been a busy week for Alex. He spent there's an odd rule here at Spa. I'll let you call this timing screen first.
Okay, a 1/10 of a second separate Alex Lynn's time for Algarve Pro Racing from United Autosport's Phil Hansen. Then Laurence Rohr for EDEX Sport, 3rd ahead of Rene Binder's Duquesne team. Jonathan Aberdeen for Inter-Europol competition number 43. Panis Racing's Job van Outer, number 65, 6th quickest, ahead of Vlad Lomko, who had more pace in the car, I feel, but just couldn't keep his laps clean enough and within those white lines.
Point I was going to make is, Spa has an odd rule. You're not allowed 4 consecutive noisy days. So test day, then a blank day. Where was Alex Lynn on the blank day? He was at Imola testing the 2024 Spec Cadillac hypercar.
We're off. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.